Hi, it's Megan. So I'm trying something new. I'm going to try, and we'll see if it works, writing a book on YouTube. And I'm going to try to do kind of a two-way track thing. One, which is how to write a novel or how to write a book. And that'll be kind of a tutorial. And then the other is like an example of an actual book that I'm writing. So I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if I'll continue doing it, but it seemed like a good idea, so I decided to do it. So right now what I'm going to read is a first chapter that I wrote of a book, and I usually don't write linearly, like chapter by chapter, so I'm not convinced this really belongs as the first chapter as I look at it again. And then the other thing is I like to throw everything on paper and then revise it, and now I'm trying to revise it a little bit more so it's not quite so bad when I read it. So this might not be perfect. Then I have to ask myself as I look at this, and feedback is welcome, which is why I think YouTube is like the perfect venue for something like this. Make sure the volume's on. Does this set a scene? Is it too mundane? Do you see where I'm going with this? Does it interest you? Should I make this fiction or nonfiction? Right now this is kind of hovering between the two, and I'm thinking fiction is better. Just gives me a lot more flexibility with what I write. And then, you know, this is just a draft. Everything gets corrected as you think about it, go back, realize parts of it don't work. So here it goes. Here's chapter 1. And I'm gonna have to read some of it because this is not just like talking. This is actually something I wrote. In the real world, every day we face risks, personal and physical and metaphysical, and just by waking up. Only in fantasy or book or delusion can we escape such perils that life throws so carelessly across our path. I'm good at hiding from reality, and like many, guard my defenses carefully. Today is December 20th, and the temperature is at its high of the day, about 62 degrees, which in Los Angeles is actually cool, even for winter. I drove home from my yoga class distracted, thinking and not sure about anything I'll do except write this. The words were tumbling over and upon themselves in my mind, vulnerable once written, but safe when only an amorphous concept. I posted something on Facebook this morning about not growing up with a voice and only beginning to find one and speak up, about blending in and behaving and just being good. How Estee Lauder wrote in her biography that when a woman is coming out of crisis or beginning to heal from trauma, she often buys lipstick after not wearing makeup or wanting to be seen. That's why Lauder pioneered the gift with purchase, and the company still always includes a lipstick, preferably a bright one. And I mentioned how we all have something from which we're recovering, but I hid mine. Walking into yoga, a woman I know, Gail, ran up to me and hugged me. She told me that she started crying a sentence into reading my post and got so emotional she couldn't finish, but would go back after yoga to read the rest. Gail and I both recover in yoga. Stretching our bodies, rooting our feet solidly on the ground, and breathing, we acknowledge life and still being in it. At least I do. She tries to be present for another moment, while she misses her daughter, a suicide a year earlier at 31 as her parents were driving to meet her. She jumped. We go to yoga. I'm recovering too. Gail, with the soft brown eyes and even gentler, barely there southern drawl, smiles and dares to go on. She brings her daughter along and embraces her memories. Tear-laden, I must assume they are at times. Don't we all harbor a hidden pain that gives us a pause late at night when we can't sleep? Why me is a cliche, is so cliche a phrase, it has little meaning in the modern world. When I first met Gail, the death was fresh and she was still in a daze. I wondered at this frozen person. Every day she placed the studio's heart-shaped rose quartz on her mat before beginning her practice. Then she stopped. You're one of the few who's willing to reach out, she tells me now. Most people want to pretend that tragedies don't happen and can't face my pain. I told my husband I feel like I don't belong in this world. How can I connect with others now? Her eyes and smile always reassure me, even though I know what's behind it all. She's so outwardly pristine. Has she found her inner calm? My response was what my yoga teachers taught me. Don't try. They won't change until they're ready. But during class, as I went through the familiar motions, I couldn't stop thinking about how we mostly live in different worlds. Anyway, sometimes we can engage with others, but then we disengage by looking at them and hearing gibberish, making no sense as they speak. I don't always care about people's trivial pursuits, but then other times nothing else matters. Still, the more I hurt, the less I engage. And so perhaps Gail really is in another world for a while, maybe the rest of her life. We don't want to join her because we're too frightened. A cage is perhaps something we all must exit alone. The yoga room is large and almost rectangle, with odd angles a light wood floor, and fluttering curtains that hit the floor. Haphazard windows let in the clear, crisp summer sunshine, while rows of bodies move on command, stretching and reaching, balancing. How many balance on a delicate precipice? What's routine sometimes keeps us sane. And the music, a mix of pop and edgier tunes, allows for an emotional escape into the subconscious, or so I've convinced myself. I left early before Shavasana, so I could write while my thoughts were still fresh. Peace or passion? I chose the latter in the form of a keyboard and more, but different music echoing in the background. Memories, thoughts, and emotions, but none of which I can identify. Now I'm the one who's numb. This part of Los Angeles, Brentwood, is a mix of cute upscale houses and massive mansions. Wide lanes and purchased shrubbery define boundaries. As I head through the mansions to the real world, I note how ordinary this journey is. Alternating between realities has become a daily trip. So I drive home along San Vicente, an island of grass and coral trees, dividing traffic coming from different directions. Twisted with winding limbs and lush leaves sprouting from the thick but bare trunk, the coral trees are the official tree of Los Angeles. The San Vicente corals, originally just cuttings from a local Santa Monica garden, were designated a cultural historic monument in 1976. Whoever says us Angelinos have no history doesn't understand that everyone has a past. And I drove through those wide, shaded lanes to my current home, but not my first or likely last in the area. Similar to the trees, I'm rooted here, in and around Brentwood. I lived here during college, and now many years later, I'm only a mile away from that youthful apartment. I ran San Vicente then, and I still do now. Shoes hitting dirt, concrete, and occasionally even grass. I can't seem to escape, but rather return for the familiar jog, feet pounding in rhythm. I showered, water washing across my body and dissolving the past, then dried off and wiped away what was left. I skipped the lotion and just dried my hair, the loud motor blocking noises from outside and leaving me present in my thoughts. I rolled my hair into hot curlers, hating the wave that will leave it otherwise in a frizz. The curler edges burn into my scalp, but I ignore the pain until it gets unbearable, then stick tissue between the hot plastic and my scalp. The minutes with the bulky cylinders digging into my flesh will pass quickly, and I want to write, so keep moving forward with my routine. Awkwardly, I grab lotion and then a primer, and then rub a primer across my face. I do this once, twice, and even sometimes 3 times a day, so I can finish it expertly despite my headgear. Then comes a tinted moisturizer, which is both free radical fighting and light reflecting, plus it has sunscreen. I think that means that not only does it hide my imperfections, but deflects what it can't hide and tries to avoid future damage. Kind of like my psyche. I think I'm too low. Imperfections concealed. I add an actual concealer to cover the worst blotches, under eye circles and last bit of life. Then a quick swipe of translucent powder and I look fake or maybe dead, but my new foundation has been laid and is flawless. Time to add color back in. My mood is admittedly dark as I'm brooding over Gail's daughter and my own past conflicts, so I swipe a kohl stick, a new favorite acquisition, around my eyes. The stick of darkness emerges from a sleek silver canister and reaches the end at a sharp point. I use it to line the perimeter of my eye into the upper waterline, from which it migrates into a soft gray on my lower waterline. I feel hard right now, though I'm not sure why. The kohl could also be mistaken for that soft fading haze around my eyes from wet mascara after I cry. I smudge more than add a matte black shadow into the line. Not needed, but still the shadow blends into kohl and into the crease. I dust it into the highlighter on my lid and up a little higher. I look mysterious and deep, but feel a fraud. How we build illusions into our outer selves. Am I this Cleopatra, mysterious and deep, or am I just presenting an image? I smudge a silver shadow on my eyelid and push it up into the crease. My eyes automatically look brighter and open up. What a farce. But still, I line the lower inner lashes with a touch of silver, extending my front. Next, I dress my face. I usually do my eyes last, but when putting on my makeup or mask, but unlike today. But now what? I do peaches on cheek and lip, dotting a matte peach blush on the apples of both cheeks. I smile to see where to place color. The color looks fresh, like summer and winter time. Grabbing an illuminizer, a soft white shimmer powder, I dust it on top of my cheekbones to awaken my face. A swipe of matte bronzer and a honey lip gloss, and I look soft, pretty. I chose the gloss, not a bolder lipstick, because I'm not sure I want to be heard. Finding your voice doesn't mean shouting from a rooftop, but rather slowly, hesitatingly learning to let one word out and then another. It's a progression and not a torrent, at least for me. Waxing on my eyebrows and forcing them into place, I feel civilized. Then I sit down and type that today is December 20th, and I'm lost but finding my way. Out of every desert is an escape, and I've built an imaginary chariot, which I know will get me where I need to go. And it isn't here. I'm not headed back to Kansas and the world I never appreciated until I left home. My answers are more complex. So that might be chapter 1, it might be chapter 2, we'll see. If anyone has thoughts or suggestions, I would love to hear them. By the way, the makeup is a little strong for the video and seems to match the story, but today's New Year's Eve and I didn't want to do my makeup twice, so I did my New Year's Eve makeup and then I wanted to get the video done before I left, so I just figured I would wear it for the video. It fits the story. Thanks for listening. If you have any feedback, let me know, and Happy New Year.